Welcome to the Fifth Trooper Podcast.
Welcome back to the Fifth Trooper Podcast. This is Evan coming at you again. I'm a little stuttery right now because I'm out of caffeine. It's been a heck of a day. With me, I've got Nick. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good, actually. It has also been a heck of a day, but you know what? We're over it now. And we get to talk some Legion, so and maybe some other things.
Yeah, actually, definitely. So before we get too far, we are going to talk about Canto in the tournament I went to, and then like my weird list. We're going to do a list breakdown on that and go over the event. But I want to give a big shout out to one of the sponsors of Canto, ZZ Armory. If you go to ZZM Armory, he makes some great proxy units and also great terrain. The big thing being terrain of iconic ships you may recognize that are not copyrighted for the Star Wars universe.
The Astro Wing is particularly pretty nice. You can shorten it to like A Wing if you really would like to, but the official name is Astro Wing.
Yeah, not to be confused. So, but he makes great terrain that's cool, like to see it on the table, but it's not uninteractable. Like some terrain's just too big and bulky to really use. Like I can't tell you how many times someone slapped down a Millennium Falcon in the middle of a table, and it's like a third of the table, and you can't really do anything with it. Which is
almost, when you actually look, you can almost entirely see under it. It just does nothing but just remove space.
Miserable. Yeah, it's awful. These are smaller ships that look really good on the table, give you the Star Wars theme, and they're pretty affordable. He sells STLs, also other products. Check out his website. He was a sponsor of the Canto Bight Cup, which actually went extremely well. And he and I will be working on something you're going to see at Adepticon, so keep your eyes peeled, or come see me, and you'll see what we've been cooking up. But I just want to give that shout out. We're also at the Fifth Trooper. We're big fans of Skullforge Studios. Not to put one over the other, just Skullforge is one of our big contributors to Stormtide, which is great. But I got to meet the gentleman who runs the ZZM Armory, and he was super nice. So please check out his website. Pick up an STL if you got the spare change. I recommend the Dark Lord Starship. I actually won one of his bombers as part of the Best Highlander list, and it sits on my desk and it looks great. So just a quick shout out to that. And yeah,
and that is zzmarmory.com. Not to be confused with ZZ Armory. We don't like those guys.
Or ZZ Top, also wrong.
You don't hate on ZZ Top.
Also wrong if you're looking for Star Wars stuff.
I mean, but what if?
But what if? So yeah, we're gonna move right into the Canto Bight tournament. A big shout out to John Bushman for going 6-0 with Yoda Wookiees. Which was pretty crazy.
John Bushman. We should have him on the cast sometime.
Yeah, it's almost like I didn't want to have him on twice in a row about things he's won, so I actively didn't put him on this one. But I know
your jealousy is ugly.
I drove him around all weekend. I was like his personal chauffeur, which was fine. But and then the cooks came in second and third. Luke's second and Chris Cook third. So it was pretty big event. I came in 12th with a I'm saying a lot, and I'm not trying to, just my brain is just fried today. I need some more caffeine. I came in 12th with a Highlander list that we're going to go over in a little bit, but I'm just going to do a quick battle rep of each of my matches. So I ended up going.
Let's hit the list first.
You want the list first?
Okay. We can provide some more context here. We'll run through it quick, and then we'll do.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds good. So I called it choking on your ambition. It's really choking on your aspiration. I got the quote wrong, but you know what? It works for me either way.
I tried to save it, guys.
It was too late. I already submitted. So it's Director Krennic with strict orders. So I'm going to go through each unit and talk a little bit about it. when I go down the list. Director Krennic with strict orders. I never used strict orders, mostly because either something of mine that got shot at, it either only had one suppression and the captain, we'll get to in a minute, the officer, inspired it off, or had courage to and didn't matter. So in my next rendition, I may or may not keep strict. It's a very good card and always a good go-to, but for this particular list, it didn't seem that like imperative, but it's good. Then I actually took Op Vader with Saber Throw, Force Push, Tenacity, and Seize. Saber Throw I used a few times. It was really an anti-air speeder or a big vehicle pick.
Yeah, that's the discussion is Saber Throw versus Choke, because for those of you who don't know, I think we talked about it a little bit on a cast or two ago, but Saber Throw Force Choke can do some real big shenanigans in terms of like force push positioning and stuff, and its ability to pick out leaders and how that changes squad movement and stuff.
Yeah, it's actually really big. I'm going to test the next rendition of this list. I'm going to test with Choke just to see if I really miss Saber Throw, because I used it a few times. Feels bad when you're throwing into heavy cover when you don't really have anything else to do.
Yeah, that is true. Throwing
right.
into heavy cover is always a gamble, but sometimes having a ranged on relentless 3 dice, pierce 3, impact 3 attack is pretty good.
Yeah, right. It's a hard thing. So I didn't run to that many vehicles, and the ones I did, I just hit with my sword. So that was pretty good. I also took a short trooper with T-21B and officer, the turbo troopers, if you will. Very strong. Courage 2, big deal. Inspire 1, big deal. It's 5, 6, 7 black dice and 2 white dice with critical 1, and probably 2 rerolls, 2 aims, 1 for being issued an order and then 1 from an aim and fire. That was wildly swingy. Sometimes I did like 9 damage. Sometimes I did 4. It just how the dice kind of shook out. Very good though. Mortar, also good. I also had 2 stormtrooper button pushers. They're just there to run around, take objectives, just be leaders for different objectives. They did their job. They did fine. Also, if you're new to Legion, stormtroopers are the best unarmed core melee in the game.
Yes, by a good margin, actually. They are the best, and they do it while being like relatively almost the cheapest. Like,
yeah, 44 points. Keep B1s out of it just for a minute.
I mean, they'll still punch through B1s. They're just a little bit more expensive.
Yeah.
I think they're what, 6 points more expensive than B1s now?
Yeah, I think so. They're black dice at Surge, and they have red defense dice, so they're pretty good. They're better than shooting when they get to punch.
Yeah. So those of us that have been playing for a long time, since like the beginning of the game, have a lot of memories of Luke Skywalker getting elbow dropped by a bunch of random stormtroopers.
It's a real thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. They kill things in melee.
Because I took Krennic, of course, I took Death Troopers with the DLT-19, Overwatch, Comms Relay, and the E11D config. So this was the big thing on my list, because Comms Relay just says pass to a unit, not trooper unit, not anything. So being able to, if I didn't really care what I want to do, I could throw it to the super shores, and they'd pass it to the mortar, and I'd give them a name, and I'd have some order control, or I could pass it to the Lat if I didn't want to pop the HQ. We'll get to him in a minute, or I could just give it to them and get a like suppression removed. Super good. It's weird that like Krennic Death Troopers hasn't been a thing in a long time, but still okay.
So we'll put a pin in them, but remind me when we get back to it that I want to talk about Overwatch on there and how useful that was or was not, if it ended up
sure
coming in clutch.
Next I took 1 strike team, mostly for the Highlander theme. We wrote an article about Highlander on our website. If you check our blog out, you can repeat core units, the stormtroopers, rebel troopers, B1s, and phase 1s. They just can't have the same upgrade, just to help with to give you some more flexibility.
Yeah.
But
to be fair, that extends to the entire list.
Correct.
You only
Correct.
get one copy of each upgrade.
So I took 2 stormtroopers just because I had them painted. I was going to do a snow too, but I just didn't have any painted, so that was kind of on me. 1 sniper team, and then my baby boy, the Lat, with Baron, high energy shells, and HQ uplink. So okay, Lat was actually, I was the only person with the Lat at the event, which kind of shocked me because this was, they called it a competitive tier event, and it was. I mean, the cooks were there, right? And Bush was there. He flew in for it, and there are a bunch of other. Mike Gem was there. A lot of big names. Jay from Fifth Trooper was there. I was there.
Who? Never heard of him.
Jay, yeah, never heard of the guy. But a lot of, if I left you out, I'm sorry. My brain's again a little fried, but it was a lot of big names there, and but also a lot of just people who this was like their second or third tournament ever coming in. So I thought I'd see more Lats there, just kind of out of like, hey, I think this unit's cool, I'm gonna play it. But I was the only one, so I got a little nervous when I showed up. Just I'm like, man, am I that off? Like, am I out of touch? No, it must be the kids. Yeah,
it's the children who are wrong.
It's the children who are wrong.
But it turned out working out pretty well for you. So
yeah, so that actually worked out very well. Vader Lat was extremely good. So
before he gets to his
his
battle reports, I played Evan doing some practice working out this list, and so I was playing like a Sabine Clan Ren truck list. And I had recon intel on Sabine. We ended up on battle lines because we're using my deck. So Sabine did a speed 1 scout move. I'm telling the story to illustrate like how low-key good Vader Lat is. People don't think about it, but it's really good. And then the Lat did not like straight towards Sabine, and not even like a full move, because there was like a wall that stopped it like reasonably a good distance short of its full move, I think. And the Lat stopped early, and there was a wall partially between it and Sabine. And then that was just one move, and then it shot. And then once it got there, I said, but that actually looks a lot closer than I expected. I started measuring out, and Vader was in range to just walk out and yank Sabine over with a force push and be engaged turn 1.
Yeah, it's
from across the board. Like,
it's actually, that was my big secret, and there's part of my lizard brain who wants to keep all of my secrets secret so I can use them again. But Ronda Rousey won so many matches by armbar during her MMA career, and everybody who went against her practiced anti-armbar techniques, how to get out of them, and she still beat him with arm bars. So it's kind of my thing where if I got something good, I'll gladly share my information about what I learned. And if someone out there is going to really tech against it, by all means.
It's a Vader Lat meta.
Yeah, it's the Vader Lat meta is real. So go ahead.
But I just, because that was with stuff in the way. That was a partial Lat move and a single speed 1 on my end, and Vader was already in threat range.
Just ready to go. I just want
to emphasize that point. Like, he is coming in hot.
That's actually how I played it too. Pretty much every match, Vader just went in, and there's some I like tough choices we'll talk about with my Vader build. What I think mine right now is good, but I kind of want to do some practice games to see if I can switch stuff around, how interesting it would be. But before we get to that, my command hand is Gracious Ambition, saying I get to go first with all but Han and maybe Dooku. Pretty good. You pop C's on Vader if you got to do it. You can hit the HQ uplink on the Lat to take it out of the order pool to make sure you got some good control. Great.
Yeah. And that still works with your Death Troopers. So if you really need to just blast something, it works with your Death Troopers order or whatever they comms relay it to. Like, if you need just some Stormtrooper with a box to get out of line of sight immediately, nope, they're gone.
Implacable, great card. I'm afraid of the damage, but sometimes it just turns on tenacity actually, and that could be kind of good if they're not shooting at Vader, which is sometimes the play.
If Vader's already embedded and it's just
It's rough.
It's extra gas. And if he's in trouble, sometimes it's just a dodge token. And
Yep.
on a one pip on a Sith Lord, a dodge token, that's still pretty good.
Yep. It's pretty good.
It's an option. So
you'll get 2 dodge tokens, right? Because you'll be ordered an activation twice.
well, you get a dodge if you decide to not go back and take the wound.
Oh, okay. Against
You
dodge
still
token.
get a dodge token out of
All
it.
right. Okay. Once you sword pool during Darth Vader's second activation, you perform 1 fewer actions. Okay. Deploy the garrison. Just another great card. 2 units.
Yep.
Standbys. Vader when he's in melee in the middle of your army. Getting a standby is terrifying.
Yeah,
because
and
that lets
also
them-
subtle trick with deploy the garrison. Also, even if Vader is way across the board, it still works with C's.
Yes. Yes,
So
does.
you can just like throw a standby way over there if you really need to. So there's some cheeky stuff.
Then I took Fear and Dead Men, which is honestly my weakest card. I didn't really have many times where it came in handy because it actually is just deflect, not melee. It doesn't knock back melee, which I had to take a judge call because I wasn't sure. So I didn't have a time when he was out in the open that he needed a lot of dodges. I mostly did it so when I was in a bunch of units, because there are times when he had like 2 to 3 different units like locked up, like moved into him, right? Just to melee. I used it for the dodges. So it wasn't like awful, but the
I don't think this is a list that really would want something like new ways to motivate them in it.
nothing can really.
So it's really just kind of like it's Fear and Deadman or push, and I think I'd go Fear and Deadman on that one. Again, you're not super happy about it, but if Fear and Deadman's your worst card, you're still probably doing all right.
Oh, right, and it's cool. Like, getting to say that is fun. Like, it's a comic book. Cool. Great, it's good. Master of Evil was big. So big spoiler with the Vader bomb and the Lat. So when Vader's in the Lat and you play Master of Evil, when he activates, it goes off the Lat space, not his. When he's in the transport, so it gives you potentially like a range 3 bubble of suppression, of 3 suppression, which is nuts. Won't make most armies run, and with all the Wookiees out there who can roll it off, and the droids out there who don't care, they can feel kind of like not great. But sometimes Wookiees just don't roll it off, and they'll get 1 action. That feels pretty good. Also, it makes the generic commanders kind of upset because they'll have 3 suppression on them, and there's maybe a mortar shell coming in at them. So you might make the 2 courage generics run. Very powerful card. Really annoying to get all the tokens out, though. I will lie. Sometimes when I play it, I feel bad, and the guy's got to dig out like 12 suppression tokens. I'm like, sorry, dude. Like, and the last one is the Dankness Descends. Darkness Descends. And I play that pretty much first turn every game, no matter what. And I'm not infiltrating Vader. He's just going in the TIE Advance, and he's getting reliable 2 for the whole game. That's like first round, always the play. Reliable 2 is just too good to like not.
All right. Now with Darkness Descends, if you're not going for the infiltrate play, you don't have to divulge it, right?
Correct. You can just play it. Yeah. It's
I wonder
divulge.
if there's play for the deal, they'll turn 1 standing orders play because you get 2 orders out of it.
True.
Yeah.
I do it because I want the reliable. I want to get out of the way in a turn that's generally safe, where I don't have to like, oh crap, I need reliable 2 right now. So that's generally when I do it. It's kind of like a standing orders for me. I also keep it. There might be a game I haven't faced enough with the list yet to say that the infiltrate needs to happen. Like, I feel like there might be a world where I need to infiltrate.
I think there are worlds where you need infiltrate, like something like a hostage exchange or something.
Yeah.
Or like a recover the supplies. Like, it obviously with any time you do an infiltrate play, terrain becomes really, really important.
Yeah.
Like, if you can have a good place to land and not just get blapped immediately.
Yeah.
But you always have it in your back pocket.
It's maybe like I thought double vehicle. I didn't run to a double heavy anti-vehicle double vehicle list, like 2 ATSTs, but it might be worth putting them in a dangerous range to those. So they have to kind of like figure out what they're going to do with him. And I could just drop Krennic in the Lat and then get a bigger bubble for bigger bubble for Compel and a bigger bubble for Entourage. Actually, big bubble for Compel is pretty interesting. I didn't really think about that until I was reading the card right now. But that's
actually, and I do have one more thing. I guess
Yeah.
we're about done.
yeah.
Your battle deck seems pretty standard, and at 800 points, it probably doesn't come into play much.
I used it once. I took red player every other time.
Yeah, so I think that's fine. Table side's pretty important when you got a Jedi. So
Yeah, it was kind of like I did 800 to see a Bushfax is a big proponent of red player being the better one. I kind of buy into that mentality. Plus, I just like being able to spend all my points.
That's fair. I'm still on camp choice. I think you have to analyze it.
And that's fair.
Is this a basically symmetrical table? Because I mean those happen. Or I mean, is this is this guy probably got the same battle deck I do or close enough?
Yeah.
Then it flips the other way.
Yeah, just to run through my objectives, they're recover, intercept, hostage exchange, and payload. Everything that you probably have to interact with Vader on.
Yeah,
at some point, like they have to go find him.
The stuff where you can pretty much identify that maybe I would swap recover for something like key positions, but like something where you know that you're gonna have to get into the middle and Vader's gonna be there, and you're gonna have to deal with Vader.
Yo, recover's so good. So the Lat can move up. Vader can move once and fire. Right. Vader can disembark, do a speed 2 move, and be touching the middle objective. And then next turn you imply like whatever you want to get away. Yeah. Recover's pretty okay. Like they can they can come get Vader if they want, but that's pretty. It's a hell of a drug to be able to go do that. About your Overwatch, it came in incredibly important, multiple games, because I'd move the Death Troopers up and I'd deploy the garrison. And sometimes I'd throw it on the shores and the Death Troopers. I'd probably pop an order for C's on Vader just to give him an order, but I'd put on those two. So if anybody moved into Vader or they shot at Vader, they could just fire right back. Real good. So overall, I think from this list and as Empire as a whole, Empire has some great tricks in the bag, some interesting stuff. It's not as easy to see anymore as it used to be. It used to be like short gun line, right?
Yeah.
I still think they're good.
A bunch of black dice are critical about to smack me in the face.
Yeah. It's I feel like they're still very good, but they're not. Are they top tier? Maybe not. Maybe because there's other things like droids are just generically good, right? They have like maybe 2 bad units in the whole army. So even if you build kind of not super point efficiently, you can still do pretty well.
Yeah, I think droids just kind of like just stumble out as being okay. Like, and that even like their like top tier power units, I don't think are like outside of like the spider super tack specific combo, like where he's overriding them and like just removing their built-in weakness. I don't think any of like their best units are the best in the game. I just think they're almost like clones used to be, clones used to be their entire army was S tier, where droids like their entire army is A tier. Yeah,
it's too bad. Gar has Yoda. I complain about Yoda a lot, and I've complained about Yoda a lot. He's really good. He's definitely something that has to carry the game on his back, and he absolutely can. He just my biggest issue with Yoda is Palpatine feels kind of sad about it. When luminous beings you can do twice a game and is just an entire legion but better. Like just way better. I know they're in different armies and there's different like things that go with them. It's
okay, right? Evan, let it out. Let it all out.
It's gonna be my sniper ran all over again.
Part 2.
The entire legion ruined the game, but we all played it because it was the style at the time. No, it's he's very good, but I don't really mind that he's a little like overtuned right now because I feel like Gar were punished for the bad times so hard that I'm not gonna. This is gonna sound weird when I say this, but the honest Gar player who's just like, I want to play, Obi-Wan and some clones, you get like 8-ax, and Obi dies because he's the only thing that you really need to shoot, right? Like if someone who's like, man, I want to play Obi and Annie because I want to relive the Clone Wars, you get like 8-ax and 2 of them are dead. They're just not dead, like, but they're just dead axe, like button
only
pushers.
2,
maybe more, right? Like it's
as Obi Annie, you're looking at like that's 400 points of Jedi.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer that you have to do like something like Yoda, who can really pump Wookiees up, and because Yoda, Chewie, and Wookiees is cool, right? It's Kashyyyk. That's cool. I'm in on that, and I like that the theme army kind of has somewhere to go, as Bushman proved. I complain about him being overpowered, but I don't really think it's a problem right now because they really don't have anything else, like take the saber tank, whatever, like saber tank, like standby sharing. That's it feels like an X-Wing 1.0 like rules of use thing that you're just gonna get punished for. But it's Yoda himself, I think, is fine, even though I complain about him. But just because it's what they have.
For you guys at home, we'll get to X-Wing. You don't worry about that.
Oh yeah, actually, we'll do a little bit on that. That was some big news today. But
you heard it here first, folks, on a non-X-Wing podcast.
I know it's least interesting, even if you don't care. It's just we'll wrap it in.
You can take some design elements from that and maybe see that they might put it into Legion, and they'd be interesting.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So we've rambled for a bit. Let's run through your games.
Yep. So I'm gonna kind of do like a couple speed rounds here of what I did. All my opponents.
Your Yoda tangent short.
Yeah. Geez. Back in '92, I used my least favorite character. So speed rounds. First round was against a very nice gentleman. I believe his Discord handle is Kralik. He's super nice dude. We played droids. He had a droid gun line with the generic 2 Magnas, some B1s, and 2 spiders, and it was to recover the supplies. And I accidentally realized that Vader could get out and grab the box or be on the box turn 1 with the Lat. I didn't really think about, I didn't measure it out, right? I'm just like, well, I might as well. I only moved once. And it became I ran everybody to the end and I won on kill points. He ended up just following me down. I couldn't stop all the bodies. And it came down to 2 stormtroopers and Vader cowering in a corner, holding boxes, and he killed one. And so it went 2-2, but I just got him on attrition because he just hadn't finished enough of my guys off because he was chasing. He had to chase.
Yeah.
So that was a good game. Excellent player. A lot of fun. Second game was against a Gar Highlander list. Yoda, Wookiee, and some phase 1s and a phase 2 and Echo Sniper. It was a close game. It was intercepted transmissions, got down to tied points, and then came down to kill points, and I lost there. I'm like, all right, because I misplayed a card. I should have played Fear and Dead Mode and had a bunch of guys around me. I just misplayed that, but it was a good game, tight game. Then going on, my third round was against the Jay Shalansky.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, I know, never heard of him. We ended up playing on a board that had a lot of terrain, which really I didn't do well against because I couldn't get all the snipers were hidden, and it was top of round 2. The snipers just shot my Lat out of the sky. They all rolled crits, 1 rolled double crits, and just ripped it out. That felt, and I had that sniper rant, and I still hate them. I still hate snipers so much. They shouldn't be anti-vehicle, but they just kind of are sometimes when you just roll roll hot. So
ironic.
Yeah, I know, right? But that came down to hostage exchange. That came down to points killed. He outkilled me. And then when Vader went down in his deployment, I conceded because that was my only chance to maybe stop him. But it was just like he'd done too much damage, and I lost so much from snipers. Honestly, like his short, he had Luke, Sabine, Leia, 2 vets, 2 Mark IIs, and 3 snipers. And snipers did like 60% of the work of that game, just ripping me apart. So I went 1-2. So I was feeling pretty bad. I'm like, man, I think I know this list is good. I'm just really having some rough games. I go into Day 2, the first round was against a father that I met in Kappa Cup. So it was good seeing him again, and he had a saber tank.
Father, you mean priest, right?
No, sorry. Father is in father and his daughter. We met them at Canto, and that was a fun event. But I met them there. I saw them again. That was really cool. They both play Legion, and he brought saber tank, double flutters, saber, double flutter, phase 1, 3 phase 1s, and some Wookiees. I got real lucky. I got a couple I like how my deployment went was kind of crazy. Like I got to the point where I would stand by aim with the Lat, and then recover standby. So I got the aim with the Baron, and then I'd use Vader to pull people out of cover into line of sight of the Lat and blast them before I moved in. Like that was a crazy thing I could do, right? That was pretty good.
Yeah, that's the Yoda tank saber play.
Yeah, right. It's just like way less efficient, but it still kind of works the same. So that was fun. He was a lot of fun. He unfortunately forgot his flutters. So Jay brought him the flutter bases, and we were just like, yeah, that's fine. Like use those 100% cool. Because it's
a fluttercraft. You are not hiding those things.
Yeah, right. That's the thing. Like you can't hide a flutter, and the flutters can kind of see whatever they want. Like it was whatever. Like this was a fun event. And then the next round was a gentleman from the Skull Squadron boys out of Pennsylvania. I usually meet him in X-Wing, but he had double land speeder Han Chewie, and so you drive him up and shoot out, like just do drive-bys. That was a pretty fun game. That came down to one play where Vader marched along, killing, like removing activations, got to a evaporator he was tapping, Krennic was tapping, so I tied it up, and then I jumped my officer, who was the only thing left out of my super shores, into the Lat. The Lat just next turn moved him up. One move, she disembarked and went to move and touch to tap. I'm sorry, she got to out of the disembark. She was touching the VAP, so she tapped it.
Yeah,
to win the game. Like the speed on the Lat, like it was a crazy play that just kind of worked out, and it was interesting because I was holding him hostage because I had more activations at that point. So he had Sabine. Oh, he also had Sabine, sorry, in that list. And he could have moved and tapped a thing, but as soon as he tapped it, she could have just jumped out and tapped it again too. So it was like this weird, like it was an interesting play
for him to run out. Yeah.
Yeah. And he hadn't shot the Lat too much because he didn't really have a whole lot of anti-vehicle. And that made sense because Lat really wasn't killing anything. It was just kind of like being a pest. But the Lat won the game for me because of the movement and being able to hide that one health unit in there to keep my full kill points too. That was important because my first 3 games came down to kill points. So I was like kind of scared about that. Then
did it to me in our practice games before. That was different. That was a different Lat game, but yeah, it just ran up in there. Oh.
I'm not giving you these.
And Speaking of, well, we'll do your last game, then we'll have we'll talk about your bounty.
Oh yeah. Actually, so I had a bounty. We'll get to my last game in a sec, but I had a bounty on me. It's called the choking on your ambition. If you killed Krennic Vader, you got to pull it from their prize pool. It was the Highlander list that got me. It was my second game, and it was the only game that happened at. So it was number 2. And then I needed to put all my bodies in there to try to take the points, and Yoda just ripped everyone apart. So that was but yeah, my bounty was taken. It was really early, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna have a rough day. I thought it was gonna be harder to do, but yeah, only once it happened, so that was good, or that was fun anyway. So final game against Yoda, 1 set of Wookiees, 3 Barks with the ion gun and clones, and he did a really good job of. I think the Lat didn't do anything for 2 turns. It was like double ioned. Can confirm feels bad. It's like, and it's funny because ion like super punishes. I hate saying like, again, like I used the word honest before, like normal vehicles or white save, right? Or just kind of there. Like it really shuts them down. Like ATSTs get really punished by ion, but tanks might not because they have such a hard time chewing through them. And I think they're really it should hurt the big vehicles all the same, but it's just how it kind of pans out, right? Like white dice, like I was my white dice were pretty hot in my lat defense, but they just couldn't. The amount of impact just putting through just chewed me up. I ended up winning that. That was Payload, and it was the last game of the day. I was like, one of us is going to be 4-2, and normally in Payload, right? The generally the smart thing to do is like their box goes one way, you make your box go the other side of the board, and you kind of like maybe pick at each other, go for kill points.
Well, red player gets to choose in that case. So red player gets to choose if they want to cross the payloads and fight, or if they want to split the payloads and just kind of circle around each other.
Splitting is generally the better idea. But it
depends on your list. Like, you're Vader. You want them to have to march their payload cart through Darth Vader.
So that was and that came down to like I just ended up knocking out more activations. He was a really tight player. He was newer. He started when the clones came out. He played a real quick, good, like solid game.
It's not that new anymore.
Oh God, you're right. I feel like too new to me, I guess.
I used to be hip. I used to be with it.
Then I didn't know what it was, and it was scary. And it will happen to you. So he did really well. It just got down to Vader killed a little bit too much, and then by the time most of his army dealt with Vader, both my two, like my death troopers and my shore troopers, were still alive at full health, and that was just hard to like deal with the amount of fire coming off of them. But overall, great event. I ended up getting best Highlander list out of 12. So that was great. So that was cool. But yeah, overall, great event. Really big shout out to the Canto Bight guys. I think they've already posted the date tentatively for the next one. Highly recommend the event. The hotel was it was at the Turning Stone Casino, and let's put it like this. So when you went to ACO, I loved the tournament. Was great. Everything else around the tournament was real butts. It was really expensive for the room. Every interaction there was $20. Like you wanted, I think I bought a bag of Swedish fish, like a snack size bag, a Red Bull, and a water, and it was like $18.50. And I kind of wanted to die. Whereas, for example, to the light side, I went to Turning Stone. I bought 2 bottles of water and like a soda, and I was pulling out a 20, and they're like, like $7. I'm like, oh, you're gonna rob me just the right amount where I don't complain about it. Okay, thank you. Like, I'm willing to pay a little bit more at these places for the convenience of just being able to walk down a room to like get something. But the amount of highway robbery was a reasonable amount. So it was a good event. Really recommend it if you can make it next time.
Cool.
So yeah, overall, I'm gonna retune this list. At first, I brought it as kind of a half, like, so Highlanders like half not serious, right? Just to make it interesting. But after I've played it, Krennic Vader Lat is very serious, and I just got to find the right things to go around it. And when I find out my ACO list, I'll definitely tell it on the podcast, so you can kind of see where I'm thinking at.
Well, they're probably more interested in your Adepticon list than your ACO list.
Yeah, the Adepticon list, my brain. So I'll definitely like let you know what I end up settling on. I think it might be double Death Troopers in there, but I got to figure it out. But all right, so moving on to some hot button news. X-Wing more or less had their 3.0 today. So Grammar, why don't you
casual slide in?
Yeah, why don't you go over that just a little bit?
All right, so I am no X-Wing aficionado, but I did catch some of the reveals, and I was more interested in the parallels that they could pull this from Legion. But essentially, what they did was that they essentially divided their points for squadron construction, what would be army construction for us, by 10. So they took it from 200 to 20. And
yes,
immediately that made my alarm bells go like, whoa, that is way less granular. What's going on? And they did that by essentially taking upgrades out of the equation. So upgrades have their own special points now that doesn't really affect your army build. But each individual ship, or I think actually each individual pilot, so like different TIE fighters have different amounts of upgrade points. they get a certain amount of points set aside that you can use to spend on upgrades.
Yeah.
So you're not taking just like a plain generic unequipped TIE fighter. You're actually making it a little bit more interesting and not like hurting your list, like diluting it, making it less efficient by putting upgrades on. So
yeah, so it's pretty cool. So it's like, let's say you take, I think I was gonna Django off the bat. He's 9 points out of your 20, which is a lot, but he gets to take 27 loadout points, which is a lot. So
yeah,
it's nice because you get to play the characters you want and not have to worry about, oh man, I want to use Django and he really likes these upgrades, but I'm gonna have to trim it down because I really need to get 3 ships in here. Like it's not how that works. You do, like I think I was playing before. It was Django, Grievous, and a bomber, TIE bomber, and that all fits. And I can fit like another ship in there now, and they can all have some upgrades. So it all feels like, so you're out of your 20 points, you're paying for your 9 for your ship, and then you get a bunch of free stuff to add in. So you get to kind of play the unit you want to play and also put the upgrades on them you want without having to do a lot more like math. That makes sense?
yeah, it's built into the cost, so you don't hurt yourself by making your units actually a little bit more interesting than just the plain vanilla unit card.
Yeah, they're adding objectives to X-Wing now, a new ranges. I recommend checking out their AMG's website. It's quite a bit changing. I originally was kind of tapping out on X-Wing. I really like it. It was my lifestyle game before Legion. I chased the World Championship Dragon for many years, at least 3, I think. Never got it. But I wasn't going to play at Adepticon, but now with all these changes, right now it's like the best time to play X-Wing with all these changes go, because it's literally the Wild West. Nobody knows what's good. So you can do whatever you want and have a good time.
But I think potentially more applicable to us here. So Evan, what would you say about, like, let's say, for example, your stormtroopers suddenly cost, I don't know, 60 points instead of 44, but you had some upgrade points built in.
Yeah, so
that theme was carried out throughout Legion. Do you think that would, how do you think that would affect the game?
Actually, I haven't played it yet on X-Wing, but the idea I am actually quite fond of. So okay, so we'll take stormtroopers, but I'm going to say, let's take Krennic, for example. So okay. Krennic is what? So he's 75 points. Let's say he's 7 points. All right, let's just drop all the numbers down to small numbers. And
yeah, let's say they cut it.
Yeah, say they cut it to like 100 points. I don't know, 80 points, something like that, whatever. So they cut it down, and with that 7 points, you get your loadout points for Krennic, and he gives you, let's say, like 12 loadout points. And so all your upgrades cost the same as they do now. So, for example, you could take 2 leadership abilities. So, like, because all leadership abilities are 5 points minus aggressive tactics. So you could take, like, I don't know, vigilance and strict orders, and then maybe put a recon intel on him. Or you could take, like, strict orders and then give him binocs, I think that still fits. Yeah, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh,
13.
Yeah, whoops.
It would be something adjusted to actually kind of make some sense. So
yeah, maybe you drop binocs a point for this, like, to make this kind of work. Yeah. So a unit could take a leadership in those, like. So with Krennic, you just add your 8 points or 7 points to the list, and then you kind of fill them out the way you want, and then you go to your next unit. I like the idea because it makes it feel like you don't have to micromanage, like, oh man, like, how am I gonna fit? I really want to, like, I've got like 6 points on my list left. Oh geez, I guess 3 recon intels, something like that, right? Like it makes it so it makes, I think, more interesting choices. Because you've got more room to kind of experiment. You're not going to hurt your list if you deck out Death Troopers, right? Like if you deck them out the way you want, you're not having to take Naked Storms, for example, because you're not, like, you don't have to move around like Overwatch. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to move around these points. So am I saying Legion needs it right now? No. I'm saying that would be interesting, and I'm going to try it out in X-Wing. And I'll probably have more feedback for you after Adepticon on it. But I think it would be interesting. I think if I was doing it, I don't think I'd mess with like the points of Legion, but I'd give
I'd give units like a certain amount of like built-in upgrade points, but I think I'd let you go over it too, but that you just pay for them normally then.
Okay, yeah,
Like
because
Krennic would get his like 10 free points or whatever that you're obligated to spend, so he's not just standing there, he's actually doing things. You would get your 10 upgrade points, but you could still put aggressive tactics and binoculars on him if you wanted to. You just pay for the extra.
Yeah, it makes some interesting scenarios where it makes you feel like you can fill out your units. Like, right, like for example, with
I just think it eliminates the boring naked units. Like they're always gonna have at least some sort of little bit of spice to them.
Yeah, right. And it takes out that it strips away the I need to put in naked activations just to get my activation count up to a reasonable level. Because at that point, it's not even worth it anymore. You just I'm taking 4 storms to get 4 acts. All right, they'll get the T21B, right? Like or whatever, right? DLT or something. I think it's interesting. I wouldn't be 100% opposed to it coming to Legion, because I think it's some interesting design space. I'd like to play X-Wing. Like I said, like I got to play X-Wing a bit, but I like the idea of like I can take Django, and I think he's got like 27 upgrade points, which is like a ton, and that's cool. Like I could take him and not have to worry about bloating him up and hurting the rest of my list. Like I'm like, oh, I got to run because when I played X-Wing 2.0, originally it's like I took him and I took Dooku, which was like 14 or 17 points or something, and then like one other upgrade. I'm like, oh, that's a lot. You know, I can't make too many more expensive. I got to really rely on that pirate ability and do nothing else with them. But now I can take like the title Boba Fett as a gunner because I think that's thematically cool. Like Dooku as a crew member, you can do all this stuff. Like it's interesting. What I don't think the game needs, what they also introduced is a restricted and banned list for X-Wing. X-Wing also has.
I don't think Legion needs that.
Could it happen to Legion in the future when each army's got like 1 million units? Sure. X-Wing's got like 1 million upgrade cards and 1 million pilots, right? There's a lot. Yeah. So in the competitive standard series, they did some bans and some restricteds.
I'm gonna walk that back. I wouldn't necessarily hate a restricted list for Legion. Like,
okay,
you can only take 2 Wookiees. You can only take 2 Dewbacks.
Okay.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I think I'd be more okay with that than just like, oh, Dewbacks are a problem, banned. Like
or they get pointed out of like reasonable play.
I think the restricted actually kind of opens up list building because it makes them easier to balance. We don't have to consider what happens when you reach critical mass with them.
It's
a way to get a more balanced game.
Because I mean the Rebel list, he was a Skull Squadron guy.
I also wouldn't hate, speaking of restricted, strike teams too.
Like, strike teams. So on a quick shout, the guy who came in 4th at the event was triple Wookiee, triple Tauntaun, 3 naked cores, and Han.
Nice.
Yeah, and he ran over people. It's a lot of hit points. So when you see stuff like that, and he was a super cool dude, by the way. He was one of the Skull Squadron guys. Jay played him, so you might hear him talk about it on the Notorious Scoundrels podcast. I've never heard of that either. Super cool. Super like it. I'm surprised I hadn't seen it before. Right? It seems like a pretty straightforward idea where you just bring like incredibly heavy melee skew.
We talked about it a little bit with Bush, like the plausibility of Tauntaun still in the age of the Wookiee.
Turns out still good.
I didn't expect like the full 6, but
yeah, it was a real thing. I think he did battle shields. I'd have to actually point it out. I didn't really catch the list too hard, but it's real life. That's a real life thing. So like, right, because when things come out in Legion and they're considered meta and good, it's always bring 3, right? Or bring as many as you can. So it'd be interesting to see. Maybe the new battle forces will do something with that they announced. Like,
could be
Blizzard squads. What, like Vader, Veers, Snows. I think there are storms in there.
Yes, storms were in that leaked like French thing. I think it was Snows and storms.
And then like E-Webs and ATSD. Like, because you want the guy who wants to just play the cool like themeless to get like he's taking all these hits to streamline list because he thinks it's cool. But also you want her to have like a good time, right? You don't want her list to just be completely garbage, right? Like, hey, I'm really sticking to theme here. Oh, your reward is you lose. Okay, cool. Right? Like it should be more than that. But yeah, so that's big with X-Wing. I was gonna actually go play Kill Team at Adepticon, but I'll be bringing my X-Wing stuff. And if I get knocked out of Legion, like if I end up because in for Legion day 1, you just need to go 3-1. And then day 2, if you lose one, you're out. But X-Wing, because the game's so quick, you can do these great things. Like they have like Aces High pods and things like that, where you go and you play these like quick games. So I could just bring my X-Wing stuff and then go see if I can jump into their World Championship thing. If I have a really rough day 1, and see what's going on, see what the meta is won't even be close to figure it out, right? So it's going to be like Wild West time to play X-Wing, absolute insanity, and that's when I thrive, when nothing makes sense and it's just whatever you want to play. But yeah, so let us know in the comments what you think. If you think Legion would like a kind of like let's say you pay 20 points for Darth Vader, and on him you get, what do I have on here, like 20 points of upgrades or something, right?
Like Darth Vader's kind of one you load up on anyway, so it probably wouldn't matter. But like, yeah, it's like your stormtroopers cost 10 points more, but you had 15 points of free upgrades.
Yeah,
or
something like that, right? Like you get like a half a heavy trooper free, right, or something. Like it'd be interesting. So let us know in the comments. I'd be interested to see what you have to say. We actually had some good ones last week about the mobile terrain, and a user reminded me that the force power for
it's force lift.
So force lift, he's absolutely right. Force lift, when you deploy, you may place a barricade at range 1, tap free action, choose a barricade at range 1 and move it to within range 1 and height 1 of its current position. The worst part about it is it's a force slot. that's what actually holds it back. And he was right when he said it in the comment. He's like, look, this exists. It kind of exists in the game, and unfortunately it's a force slot, so no one's going to take it because force is just so darn good. Like, do I take that or do I take force choke with Vader, right? I guess maybe with like, and it taps like it taps. So are you ever gonna master the force that back when you've got stuff even like
it's gotta be like a third slot Yoda power, like almost exclusively,
maybe?
but
maybe you give up burst of speed on Palp to do force lift, force barrier, and force guidance. So. Just make him a complete support unit, like maybe. But yeah, he's right though. It's because of the force. Because I really like force guidance. I think force guidance is extremely strong, but force push exists.
Yeah.
And if I only have master of the force 1, I need force push. Handing out 2 search tokens is pretty dope, and being able
Honestly,
to do it every
at this
turn
point,
is pretty dope.
I would like to see force push just become like included.
Oh, just with force users.
Yeah, you get force push, keep the same number of slots. Their cost all goes up by 10. Like,
yeah,
we know everyone takes it. Let's see what people actually do when they have more free slots.
Yeah, I think it either goes up by 10 or that's a good idea. Just bake it in, or maybe it needs to go up in points because it is very powerful. I think 10 is maybe 15. But my other idea is,
I think people would pay 20 for it and still not bat an eye.
Right, like I'm kind of interested to know what the breaking point on push would be before you just say, no, I'm just going to take reflexes and force guidance and deal with it, right?
Yeah, the ability to move your opponent's models is
dude, it's insane,
pretty strong.
The amount of shenanigans I got away with that, like it's silly. But yeah, so they are right. Force lift is in the game. It's just too bad that it's a force power. It's 5 point. I even think 5 points is pretty reasonable for it, but the tap though,
it's the slot. The slot is a cost on that too, and it's just
it's there's so many other good things. But I stand corrected. But before we wrap things up, thank you for listening. We appreciate it.
We really do.
I'll be doing Hunt Showdown, if you're interested at all, is doing Twitch drops for the next till March 1st from one of my favorite game to love hate is doing Twitch drops from Wednesday the 23rd to March 1st, and every person who streams it is eligible to you can watch me, even who I'm not a partner with Hunt, and get Twitch drops. So that's super cool. And I'll try to be streaming a lot this week. Please like our channel. It's where Grammar and I play the most. We play almost exclusively together all the time. Just about everything we do.
We need to get out more. We really do.
It's true. But if you go if you get a chance, follow my Twitch, and you can catch us there if you want the Twitch drops. Or if you just want to come and ask us Legion questions, that's more than acceptable. I'm more than happy to tank a match to start talking about Legion and the Church of the Lat.
Let's be honest, he'd probably tank the match anyway.
Also true. I had some, maybe we'll do what do you think about doing like a heavy tier list breakdown? Like a tier list of all the heavies.
All the heavies?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hit that.
Because I think that'll be just about enough time. It won't take.
There's gonna be a pretty crowded S tier, I think. Honestly, there's a lot of.
Yeah. But maybe that'll be interesting. Like, what's the best heavy period?
All right, commenters. There's your homework.
Yeah. Tell us what you think about the if Legion had the points change rules, and also we'll do. So I was trying to think of something. We're talking about doing a tier list, but it's getting to the point where some of these armies have so many units that to go over it would be more than like a reasonable hour of time. So I think maybe if we just break it down by like heavies are interesting because they're kind of around right now. They're like sneaking in here and there. So I think that'd be a good one. But I think that's all for me. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
I think we're all good.
All right,
catch
cool.
You guys on Twitch.
Yeah, hey, catch us there. Catch us in the 5th Trooper. We'll be comment on this if you want to talk to us. We watch the comment section pretty regularly, and want to interact with us, come to my Twitch and we'll be there too. Everybody have a great day, stay rad, and we'll catch you next time.
See you later.
Join us next week for another edition of the 5th Trooper podcast.
This has been a 5th Trooper production.